Rabbit Hole Roundup, episode 50. What can we do as citizens to make America great? So guys, now that Trump won the election, and as I spoke about in my last Rabbit Hole Roundup, I do believe he was by far the better candidate. And it turns out having a Diddy party of celebrities endorsing you.
Every day the Democratic Party looks more and more like a P. Diddy party.
And giving away all of our money to foreign countries and to fund foreign wars, and calling your opponents Nazis, isn't as great of a political strategy as one would have thought beforehand.
That's not going to be good for anybody.
Maybe those things aren't actually such great selling points. Now, I also don't want to get too caught up in all the hype and all the excitement, because first off, I do hope that Trump is for real. I hope that he's going to follow through on all of his promises, but I also understand, as I spoke about in last week's video, to not put all my faith into a politician, and to not put all my faith in someone outside of me and outside of God. However, of course, I do hope all the people around him are able to keep him to his promises. But remember, we have a job to do too, regardless of where you stand politically. Whether you're conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican, libertarian, someone who doesn't even believe in politics. We need to hold ourselves accountable, because personal excellence is always going to be the ultimate rebellion, and it's always going to be the ultimate solution as far as I see it. So in today's video, I'm going to be diving deeper into all the things we need to do to make America a great place for all of us, regardless of what any politician may or may not do. It's on us. But I'm also going to be talking about reasons to be hopeful that at the very least some great things can happen politically.
It's something. It's hope.
I'm also going to be talking about reasons to have healthy skepticism. I'm going to be sharing some funny and also some really good tweets in this episode. So without further ado, let's dive deeper now. Rabbit hole time, let's go.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jared Weiss. If you guys didn't know, that must mean you're not subscribed to the channel, so you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button, make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts on this video. Follow me on every platform, and if you guys haven't done so already, make sure to check out my book, Fight Through by Jared Weiss. All the links purchased are on my website, which is jaredryanweiss.com. That's JAREDRYANWEISS.com. Buy the book, support me. Any support is very much appreciated, as I always say. So first off, to start this video off, I want to talk about reasons to be hopeful that a lot of really positive changes can be coming on the horizon. First off, I do believe that the collective consciousness is rising.
Rising up out of the ground.
Rising, Maurice.
I'm rising, Maurice.
I believe a lot of us are awakening to our own power, to realizing all the corruption that's around us, and I can actually feel this and hear it in many of my conversations that I'm having these days. A lot of people are actually asking way more questions these days than they were a few years ago, which is a good sign that many of us are waking up. We're realizing how we've been lied to by the fake news. We're realizing how this idea that anyone who doubts mainstream media is a Nazi or is a crazy person who wants grandma to die.
CNN is fake news.
We're realizing how it's up to us to take back our own power, to get the chemicals out of the food supply, to question everything that's going into our bodies, and to realizing that the people in power don't always have our best interests at hand, and oftentimes have actually the complete opposite. Now next up, another really powerful point that I want to address that this election reveals to us is that podcasting and online influencers are actually completely overtaking the whole mainstream media. And also, people don't really care about Hollywood celebrities' opinions anymore.
It doesn't matter what you people think.
Podcasting is the future of the news, and what I love about this is podcasting, along with having a social media platform, puts the power back in our hands. Now, of course, can this also be a double-edged sword? Yes, but at the very least, it gives us hope. It allows us to spread messages. It allows us to hold the people in power accountable. It allows us to interact with people who we otherwise never would have heard from if they weren't on the TV. And it helps us to realize how out of touch all the celebrities and all the people on TV actually are. I fully believe that this election actually signified the death of the mainstream media. I mean, as XG, one of the producers on my favorite podcast, Sam Tripoli's Tinfoil Hat, tweeted out the other day, if it wasn't for podcasting, we'd be headed to World War III, which I actually think is so true. I mean, having Joe Rogan, having Theo Vaughn, and also having all these other independent creators out there actually probably swung the whole election. And also two other really powerful tweets I want to read from my favorite podcaster other than myself, Sam Tripoli. He said, first off, he said, in hindsight, it may have been a blessing that the 2020 election was so contentious, as it accelerated the decline of the mainstream media, which has lost much of its influence. Now we'll get to see how Trump operates without the constant scrutiny of network news. While I'm not naive, I remain hopeful for humanity's sake. Well said, Sam. And he also said the Democrats in Hollywood have the same exact problem, and that's that, like, they don't respect the people. Keep putting out garbage candidates and trash content and then wonder why you are losing voters and viewers. And also, as comedian Kurt Metzger said, looking back now, I guess the term Latinx was a much bigger insult to Hispanics than anything Tony Hinchcliffe said. Now, some other wins and some other reasons to be hopeful are, I think that, like, people out there are actually more comfortable sharing their views now than ever. In large part to everything like Elon Musk did with Twitter, because before he purchased Twitter, everything was all like bot farms, and every alternative viewpoint was being shut down and drowned out by all these fake accounts. But ever since the whole Twitter files came out, and ever since Elon Musk has opened up Twitter to all its free speech, which of course has also its downside because it also floods the internet with all its nonsense too, but at the very least, it shows us how there are people out there who share the same viewpoints as we do, and we're not crazy for feeling the way that we do.
Not crazy.
We also understand how cancel culture is pointless, and most of the time it actually leads to the person coming back bigger and better. I mean, as I spoke about in last week's episode, the whole Tony Hinchcliffe thing was all fake outrage. And the proof of that? Puerto Ricans, I think, actually voted more for Trump than Kamala. We're able to have a sense of humor. We understand, like, that a comedian is going to tell jokes, they're going to exaggerate the truth, and it doesn't make that person a Nazi or an anti-Semite or a racist. We're also not for censorship. I think a lot of people are finally seeing through this, and a lot of people are finally waking up to this. I mean, when all these people in power are creating words like disinformation and misinformation, who's actually in charge of the truth?
You can't handle the truth.
Does the mainstream media actually have a monopoly on truth? Not anymore. And this is also why we need to hold people like Mark Zuckerberg accountable too for what he did. I mean, yes, like, he has taken some steps toward admitting his mistakes, but is he planning on unshadowbanning all the accounts, all the thousands of accounts who spoke against the agenda? Or is he just gonna, like, offer up this whole fake apology and then not actually do anything about it?
Look, I just want to say I'm sorry for the way I acted and...
Hey, let me tell you something. You are a raving maniac.
I also hope that, like, we could get the JFK files released. We could get the 9/11 files released. Maybe even the Diddy or Epstein list released. At the very least, I do have some hope that, like, at least some, and at best maybe all those things will happen. And we're also tired of all the hypocrites, all the Hollywood people telling people, like, how voter ID is racist or how we should have fully open borders. I'm not sure if any of you guys saw this the other day, but, like, the Nelk Boys posted a hilarious video that exposed all these rich Hollywood elites.
So you would do anything for, like, all the illegals and stuff?
I think we have to be fair.
Guys, this is great. I think we found a new home for you guys.
What guys?
There you go.
Is that your bus?
Yeah.
I don't understand what this is all about.
This is all the immigration. They're gonna move into your house.
They are not.
What do you mean? You just said you wanted to support everyone, though.
Okay, that I don't.
No, they're
Guys,
not
we
violent.
got a
They're
new
not
house.
violent. They're good. They're
Oh no,
like,
hop it! Like, just like you guys did before.
Thank you very much.
Can they stay for dinner? Wait.
Sorry.
Well, we have your signature. You guys got to drive back down south.
Back to Home Depot.
Now, moving along, of course, the easy part is voting. And I know, like, a lot of people in the truther community don't even believe in that as a legit solution because a lot of people believe, like, it's all the same team, it's all two wings of the same bird, and no one in politics can do anything good. And once again, I'm a healthy skeptic. I'm aware of all those things, which is why I'm not gonna put my whole faith in any politician or anyone in office. And of course, now we do actually have to hold the politicians accountable, but even more importantly, we have to hold ourselves to these high standards.
Personal excellence is the ultimate rebellion. You can't wait around for every government or any politician or any fucking anybody to come fix your shit.
In addition to that, though, one thing that, like, I don't like is seeing all these black pillars out there who are always looking for reasons to be upset, always looking for flaws. And look, I get it, politics aren't perfect, and of course, they're not ideal. But can we at least see the tide starting to turn? Can we at least find some small victories? And to be clear, I do acknowledge, as a truther, that Trump was the father of Operation Warp Speed, which of course I'm not for at all. I get his ties to foreign countries. I get, like, that he put Larry Fink in charge of the Federal Reserve. I get that, like, he had John Bolton in charge, a crazy warmonger. But he did also expose John Bolton and Anthony Fauci. Whether or not, like, that was actually his goal, he did it, and he did, like, wake up a lot of us to all the corruption that's happening in Washington, D.C. So of course, I do have a healthy skepticism, but regardless of what you believe, I'm always going to be more attracted to people who are looking for reasons to be positive, for reasons to be happy.
Happy, happy, happy.
So I see.
Versus always looking for reasons to be upset. And yes, be skeptical. Do not outsource all your trust or all your power into any politician, no matter how good they may seem on the outside. But I'm also not for looking down on people just because they're not full-on truthers or because they haven't gone down every rabbit hole like I have. You can be a healthy skeptic without being like, oh, look at all these morons who are voting.
What an idiot.
Or look at all these morons who are still part of the system. I mean, As Charlie Robinson said the other day, as I referenced in my last episode, he actually sees it as important to have one foot in the system and like one foot out of the system as much as you can while creating parallel societies and while also taking all these tiny victories. I mean, for a while, you couldn't even talk about the chemicals in foods or the dangers of quacks without being looked at as crazy. If you would have called something fake news 20 years ago, everyone would have thought like you were some crazy person who's trying to blow up the country. But nowadays, we actually have a lot more people who are slowly inching their way towards the ideal, and like I don't want to turn them away from that. Once again, I do think there are a lot of reasons to be hopeful and a lot of reasons to be positive, so like only looking for all the bad things isn't going to help us get any further, and like it's actually going to only keep us divided, and it's not actually going to do anything to raise the vibration as far as I see it. Those are just my thoughts. I do think the people who are ultra skeptical probably are needed.
I listened to your arguments, and they were rambling and flimsy. I'm not convinced.
In order to hold the politicians accountable, but to keep your focus on everything that's wrong with the world and keep your focus on how stupid everyone is and only seeking out all the negative stuff isn't going to help us get further as a society. Now, it's also important to be resilient enough to be someone who can be okay no matter who's in office. But at the same time, I can't lie, I do feel the tide shifting. I do feel like a lot of positive energy is coming our way, and I do feel a lot of hope. Early on as a truther, one of my main goals was always to find out who was control opposition, but now I've gotten back to what I do best, which is actually finding the good in everyone, staying optimistic, staying as positive as I can be, and trying my best to focus on all the good things, even if these people aren't perfect. There's a difference between having hope versus giving up everything to that person. And also, due to the whole podcasting revolution, I think and have hope once again that we as citizens have more power than ever to hold someone like Trump accountable to his promises.
You say clearing out the corruption in your terms. Would that mean clearing out the top level federal service workers that are currently at the FDA and the CDC?
In some categories, I would say.
What does that look like? Yeah.
In some categories of workers, there are entire departments, like the nutrition departments at FDA, that have to go. That are not doing their job. They're not protecting our kids. Why do we have Fruit Loops in this country that have 18 or 19 ingredients, and you go to Canada and it's got 2 or 3?
Would you eliminate any of the agencies?
To eliminate the agencies, as long as it requires congressional approval, I wouldn't be doing that. And I can get the corruption out of the agencies. This is what I've been doing for 40 years. I've sued all those agencies. I have a PhD in corporate corruption, and that's what I do. And once they're not corrupt, once Americans are getting good science and are allowed to make their own choices, they're going to get a lot of help.
Now, I'm not naive enough to believe that like Trump can't possibly be one of the elites, can't possibly have been like selected as a controlled op figure. But at the same time, I do think he's more connected with the people than any other elite president or politician has in the past. Meaning that if he's not following through with his promises, if he's not doing right by us, we have social media to call him out. We have Joe Rogan, we have Tulsi Gabbard, we have Elon Musk, we have RFK, we have Tucker, we have Thomas Massey, Andy Frisella, and look, you can think what you want about all the people who are surrounding him, but like at the very least, I do think it's a huge step in the right direction.
Sometimes they say huge, not a bad one. Huge steps.
And I have like a lot of hope and a lot of faith that good things can be done on the political level, even though the ultimate solution is always going to be personal excellence on the individual level and on the community level. But this also leads me into, it's up to us to treat others right. It's up to us to eat better, treat our bodies right, go to the gym, get outside in nature, interact with more positive people and more positive content, hold ourselves to the highest standard possible. Because ultimately, no one's going to do those things for you. Even if this administration does get rid of all the chemicals in the foods, get rid of a lot of the corruption in Washington, D.C., get rid of or reduce our income tax and get rid of the Federal Reserve, as I'm hoping.
It's hope.
And prioritize our people first. Even if all those things do come true, which I obviously hope they do, we are ultimately the captain of our ships. And it's up to us to take ownership over our lives, because that's where true change lies. It's on us.
It's on you.
Always has been.
Most of the time, as we know by now, politicians are going to do what politicians are going to do. Now, that's not to say that, like, once again, I have hope and faith that the new administration is gonna make things a lot better, but I'm not gonna outsource all my faith and all my trust into waiting for some political savior to do that for me. I'm gonna take action into my own hands. I'm gonna take matters into my own hands, because I know like that my house has to be in order for everything out there to be in order as well. Nothing gets better and nothing changes unless you do. And also, one final message of unity I want to add to this video that I saw earlier today was, elections will come and go. Don't let politics ruin your relationships. one of the truest signs of maturity is the ability to disagree with someone while still remaining respectful. So like, this is something that I hope we can get back to as a country, is having disagreements with people without having to see that person as the other or see them as the enemy. Because most of us all generally want the same things in our lives. We want inner peace, we want to love others and feel loved ourselves, we want to be happy, healthy, and thriving. So regardless of whether or not you agree with someone politically, remember that like, it costs nothing to be kind to someone, it costs nothing to be respectful of others, and even if you disagree with someone on politics, there might be a million other things that you have in common with that person. So don't allow politics and don't allow this whole divide and conquer agenda that the mainstream media has imposed on us for the past several years, as well as all the bot farms, to make us forget that we're all humans, we're all children of God, we're all made in the image of God, we all have something to offer this world, and allowing politics to ruin that will honestly be such a big shame, and it's not worth it at the end of the day. So to sum things up, whether you guys love Trump, hate him, think he's the Antichrist, think voting means nothing, I believe and feel like there is a sense of hope in our country, and at the very least, even if no politician accomplishes anything good, I think and believe that like enough of us are ready to transform ourselves and transform our own lives, but all this starts with you.
You are enough like you are, and that's why God created you. You are enough.
And that's the message I want to end this video with. So anyways guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel, be sure to follow me on every platform, buy the book. I will catch you guys in the next video. Stay positive, stay hustling, stay grinding. Peace.